I don't know. Let's take a look at the original Sun story, shall we? So this is the Sun. They published this on the 7th of July, and it says the alleged recipient's mother, the recipient being the recipient of the tens of thousands of pounds that were paid to this then 17-year-old. The mother said that they had used the cash to fund a crack habit. She added of the Star, when I see him on telly, I feel sick. I blame this BBC man for destroying my child's life. Taking my child's innocence and handing over the money for crack cocaine that could kill my child. Like, okay, let's put a pin in that there just for a minute. Maybe we'll come back to that. It says a BBC star is off the air after allegedly paying a teen more than 35 grand for sexual pictures. It says the family complained to the BBC about his behaviour on May the 19th and begged them to make the man stop sending the cash. They had discovered their child has been using the money to fund their spiralling addiction to crack cocaine. So, okay, all right. Now, the first thing that's popping in my head here, and I know Mateless and Sopal already talked about this last night, but there is a distinct possibility that this could be blackmail. You know, frequent transactions. If it's someone who's desperate for cash in that kind of situation, funding an addiction, like their behaviour could easily descend into cold and calculating, as a means of extracting funds from this wealthy individual on a 6-figure salary so that you can keep buying the crack, okay? And I know that sounds victim blamey, and I'm not saying that's what's happening here. I've got no fucking idea, but I'm just saying it's an angle that is not even considered in the Sun article. So there's that. But the second thing is more interesting, I think, is how oddly this is framed, right? In that there is no mention of the payment facility in here, like the arrangement, how this money was making its way from A to B, how these two first encountered one another, because that could hugely change the dynamics of this and the substance of this story, right? If this is a guy just hanging out in playgrounds, and he's like, hey, check me out. Who wants to make $1,000? You do? Do you? Who wants a new PS5? All right, cool. All you got to do, show me your fanny. If that is fucking paedophilic, and whoever behaves like that should be violently castrated and thrown into salt water, obviously. But that is by no evidence whatsoever what is happening here. That is a massively different scenario to, I don't know, if this guy, whoever he is, if he goes on to something like OnlyFans, something similar. I don't know what the alternatives are that are out there, but, I'm sure there are other service providers available. Sugardaddies.com or something, and he searches for blondes with big boobs, and, this girl pops up in between a bunch of other ones, and he chooses this one. And, she happens to be 17, but he doesn't know that. Like if she did, XYZ and managed to get a profile on this adult content provider, even though she was below the... Do you know what I mean? Like if that's what this is? Like I'm not saying it wouldn't still be creepy. Obviously it's fucking creepy. But that is a significantly different situation to what they're making it sound like in this original Sun piece. Because remember, the police haven't charged him with anything. There's no investigation happening. Like they've already confirmed that. Which, to my mind, see, look, we can have an argument all day about the rights and wrongs of the criminal justice system, the conviction rate for abusers being fucking abysmal, all day we could talk about that. But the fact is, if he's just gone on something like OnlyFans, paid someone who he thinks is of age, and then it turns out that she was 17, retrospectively, when it all started. Like, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I am. Like, even though it is basically my fucking USP. I mean, we covered that in the intro. But I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that kind of isn't a crime. Yes, it's weird and it's creepy. It's unbecoming of a publicly funded employee on a £300,000 salary or whatever the fuck why would you think it wasn't going to come out? Motherfucker. You fucking idiot. How could you be on a publicly funded salary for the BBC where every other week they're getting torn to shreds by the time... How would you think this shit wasn't going to come out? But I don't know, it just feels like, to me, the Sun might be lining themselves up for a bit of a fall here. If not for any other reason than the fact that the Sun, only a few years ago, were paying girls a year younger than this one to pose for sexual pictures. Like, it's fucking, the whole thing is ridiculous.